You're not on this $64 million deed. 7 words, nuclear impact. Vivian Carter's fingernails dug crescents into her palm as the champagne flute slipped from her grasp, shattering against the Italian marble. $64 million, her crowning jewel, after clawing up from Chicago's South Side, evaporating in a single sentence. Caleb Monroe didn't just smirk, he savored the moment. Harvard-educated arrogance radiating off him like expensive cologne as he tapped the document between them. 3 years as her son-in-law. 3 years plotting her destruction.
What did you just
say? Not a question from Vivian, a warning. Sunlight slashed through Southampton's panoramic windows, illuminating the beachfront property Vivian had decimated 3 rival developers to acquire. $64 million on paper, triple that, with the development rights she'd secured through bloodless corporate warfare. The mahogany room at Brighton and Sloane turned Arctic. 6 people, 0 breathing. Loretta Hughes, 20 years as Vivian's realtor, confidant, accomplice, placed blood-red nails over the deed. Her smile wasn't professional anymore, it was vicious. Page 3, paragraph 2. Loretta purred, sliding the document with deliberate precision. Read it. Vivian snatched the papers. Her eyes, legendary for spotting property value and human weakness in equal measure, locked onto the ownership clause. Her heart flatlined. One Carter remained. Not Vivian. Darius. The son who'd sworn she was dead to him, 15 years ago. The conference room door crashed open. Hello, Mother. Darius Carter filled the doorway, no longer the boy who'd stormed out of her Buckhead fortress, but 6 feet of living vengeance, with her shark-like eyes and his father's granite jawline. Behind him lurked Franklin Tate, her oldest enemy, silver-haired and vulturine. Been waiting 15 years for this exact moment, Darius said, voice cutting like the ocean outside. Surprised? Vivian's empire, built on 27 hostile takeovers and 13 bankrupted rivals, didn't prepare her for this ambush. Blood from her palms stained the $64 million contract crimson. Naomi. Vivian locked eyes with her daughter at the far end of the table. Did you know? Naomi Carter Monroe, 6 months pregnant, Harvard MBA, groomed heiress, trembled, manicured fingers protectively covering her belly. Mother, I swear. She knew nothing, Caleb cut in, adjusting his Patek Philippe watch. Unlike you, some people value family over fortune. Howard Langston, Vivian's silver-tongued attorney, lunged for his briefcase. This is fraud. We'll challenge. You won't. Loretta's voice sliced through the room. She extracted a sleek black laptop from beneath the table and opened it with theatrical precision. Before anyone makes threats, perhaps a viewing? The screen illuminated her face from below, casting demonic shadows as she pressed play. Vivian's voice filled the room. If the environmental survey reveals protected wetlands, bury it. Pay whoever needs paying. That property breaks ground next month if I have to drain the swamp myself. Dated 3 weeks ago. In this very building. 20 years as realtor to New York and Atlanta's elite. Loretta's smile sharpened. 20 years of every backroom deal, bribe, and buried body recorded. Digitally archived. Triple backed up. Franklin Tate, Vivian's oldest rival, lunged forward. You sanctimonious witch. You recorded me too. Loretta tapped another key. Franklin's voice emerged, discussing Caleb, with explicit promises of political appointments, offshore accounts, and removing the Carter matriarch permanently. Everyone. Loretta's eyes glittered. Everything. South Side Chicago. Gunshots outside. Vivian Carter, 22, 8 months pregnant, counted crumpled bills on a water-stained kitchen table. $97 between her and homelessness. We'll make it work, Charles promised, his architect's drawings spread across their dingy one-bedroom rental. Dreams sketched in precise lines while reality crumbled around them. She didn't believe him, but she believed in herself. 36 years later, the Vivian Carter who entered Brighton and Sloane's executive bathroom wasn't that desperate girl. She was Atlanta royalty. She splashed cold water on her face, smearing $400 foundation, and stared into merciless mirror light. Pull it together, she hissed at her reflection. The 24-hour clock was ticking. Loretta's ultimatum hung like a guillotine blade. Her mind flashed through 3 decades of calculated ascension, from Chicago receptionist to Atlanta's most feared developer. The bodies buried. The deals forced. The rivals crushed. Charles's death. Her BlackBerry vibrated. Naomi, Mom, we need to talk.
Now.
Vivian applied fresh lipstick with surgical precision. Crisis Management 101. Control the narrative. She'd built Carter Properties brick by blood-soaked brick. Starting with Charles's $2 million life insurance, the policy she'd insisted on, the payment expedited through channels that didn't ask why a healthy 35-year-old architect drove off Buckhead's sharpest curve at 3 a.m. That first property, a foreclosed 4-unit in Atlanta's emerging midtown, purchased while wearing widow's black. Then the strip mall, the office park, the first downtown high-rise. Each acquisition larger, each risk calculated, each competitor who underestimated the grieving widow systematically destroyed. By 2005, Carter Properties' glass and steel headquarters dominated Atlanta's skyline. Vivian dominated boardrooms. Only Darius challenged her. Questions about his father, about money trails, about Vivian's ruthless climb that left no survivors. The fight that sent him storming out of her Buckhead mansion remained etched in acid memory. You're just like him, weak. Questioning instead of taking. This empire wasn't built on questions, Darius. 15 years of silence followed. Until today. Chapter 3. The Golden Daughter. Yale Club, Manhattan. 5 years earlier. He's watching you again, Brianna whispered, nudging Naomi Carter between champagne sips. Caleb Monroe, Kennedy handsome in Seville Row tailoring, hadn't been subtle. 3rd charity gala in a row. 3rd time positioning himself in Naomi's orbit. Mother would eat him alive, Naomi murmured, adjusting her Cartier watch, her MBA graduation gift. But something in his confidence intrigued her. Men typically approached Carter women with either transparent greed or paralyzing intimidation. Caleb approached with certainty. Carter Capital's heiress, he'd said later that night, voice bourbon smooth. Impressive legacy. More impressive how you've stepped out of its shadow at Morgan Stanley. He'd done his research.
She'd liked that.
Now, 5 years, 3 wedding anniversaries, and 6 months of pregnancy later, Naomi Carter Monroe paced her Southampton guest house, phone trembling in her grasp. Pick up? Damn it. The call to Caleb rolled to voicemail again. Her world had imploded in that closing room. Mother, husband, brother, each revealed as strangers. The door clicked open. Naomi whirled around, protective hands covering her belly. Quite the family reunion, Caleb said, loosening his Hermes tie. No Harvard smirk now. Something darker. Tell me you didn't know. Naomi's voice cracked. About my uncle. About mother. About Darius. Caleb poured 3 fingers of Macallan. Which version would you prefer? Comforting lie or uncomfortable truth? Did you marry me for my mother's money?
Direct.
Vivian's daughter after all. Caleb laughed without humor. I married you because you're brilliant, beautiful, and passionate about changing the world with ethical investment. He drained his glass in one burning swallow. I conspired against your mother because she's destroyed lives systematically for decades, including my father's. Chapter 4. Prodigal Son. Los Angeles. 18 months earlier. Darius Carter's Silver Lake Gallery opening should have been triumphant. After 15 years of refusing his mother's name and money, his photography had finally gained critical recognition. Instead, he stared at foreclosure notices while critics sipped complimentary champagne. Stunning work, a striking woman in her 50s approached, examining his signature piece. Facade, a Manhattan skyscraper reflecting distorted reality. Thank you, Darius replied automatically, calculating whether the night's sales might cover next month's rent. Particularly impressive considering you've never received formal training. Her gaze penetrated.
Familiar somehow.
Self-taught through necessity, like your father. Darius stiffened. You knew Charles Carter? Better than most. She extended a manicured hand. Loretta Hughes. His life pivoted on that handshake. Now, 18 months later, Darius watched Southampton waves crash against pristine shoreline from Vivian Carter's $18 million deck. His mother's property. Soon to be partially his. Justice. Vengeance. Restoration.
Why didn't it feel more satisfying?
The sliding door whispered open. Darius didn't turn. You look like him. Vivian's voice, controlled, measured, lethal, hadn't changed in 15 years. That's what Aunt Loretta said. Darius finally faced his mother. Time had hardened her beauty into something formidable. Right before she showed me the real accident report. Vivian's expression revealed nothing. Always the negotiator. Whatever Loretta showed you. Stop. Darius's tone cut like the crystal tumblers gathering dust in his apartment. I've spent 18 months investigating every detail of Dad's death. Every inconsistency. Every convenient coincidence. He extracted a worn photograph from his wallet. Charles Carter, laughing, arm around Vivian, Darius and baby Naomi balanced on knees. Last family vacation. 3 weeks before he died. Before you collected $2 million. Before Carter Properties' first major acquisition. Carter Properties headquarters, Atlanta. 10 years earlier. Buy them out or bury them. Vivian Carter signed the hostile takeover authorization, not bothering to look up from quarterly projections. Their choice. Howard Langston, younger then, less haunted, shifted uncomfortably. The Tate family has political connections. Had connections. Vivian's correction sliced like a scalpel. Franklin's brother died last month. His Senate committee influence died with him. Still, the timing appears. I don't pay you to discuss appearances, Howard. Execute the takeover. A decade later, Vivian watched that same conversation on Loretta's laptop, evidence of a systematic dismantling of the Tate real estate empire. You recorded everything. Not a question. Everything. Loretta confirmed, closing the laptop in Vivian's Southampton living room. Even conversations you thought were private. Vivian calculated angles, leverage, weaknesses, the chess game that had defined her life. Outside, police lights flashed as Franklin Tate's suicide investigation expanded. Convenient timing, Vivian observed. Your star witness dies hours after our confrontation. I had nothing to do with Tate's death. Loretta's composure cracked slightly. This complicates everything. Simplifies, Vivian corrected. Dead men tell no tales. Or testify before SEC investigations. The doorbell rang. Vivian checked security monitors. Naomi arriving alone. Face ashen. My daughter appears distressed. Finding out her mother is capable of murder tends to have that effect. Loretta's words landed like precision strikes. Vivian's laugh held genuine surprise. You actually believe I killed Franklin? I believe you've eliminated obstacles without hesitation for 30 years. Loretta gathered her belongings. Starting with my brother. The front door opened. Naomi entered, Yale-educated poise abandoned, pregnancy hormones and family betrayal creating something volatile. Is it true? Naomi demanded, ignoring Loretta. Did you have Franklin Tate killed? Don't be dramatic. Vivian poured sparkling water. Drink something. You're dehydrated. Answer me. Vivian sighed. No, I didn't have Franklin killed. Though his timing is suspiciously convenient. Like Dad's accident. Naomi's question hung between them. 20 years of unspoken suspicion crystallized. I want everyone at this table. Now. Vivian Carter's command, delivered via simultaneous text to scattered family members, brooked no resistance. Even in crisis, she controlled the narrative. Thunder cracked outside Southampton's darkened sky as Detective Rivera departed with pointed warnings about remaining available. Inside, Vivian's $18 million dining room transformed into War Council headquarters. Naomi entered first, Yale poise fractured but rebuilding. Darius followed, expression unreadable. Caleb arrived last, Harvard arrogance replaced by wary calculation. Loretta, not family, but central to the unfolding catastrophe, completed the tableau.
Seat.
Vivian directed from the head of a table that could seat 20, but tonight held 5. No one moved. I said sit. Steel beneath silk. Reluctantly, they complied. 5 adversaries around Vivian's custom Nakashima table would harvested from the property of her first bankrupt competitor. Franklin Tate's death changes everything. Vivian remained standing, command position. Detective Rivera believes one of us is responsible. Just one. Darius's bitter laugh cut through designer lighting. Gemma, Vivian's longtime housekeeper, entered silently with silver serving trays. Vivian had ordered dinner despite apocalypse. Power move. You can't possibly expect us to eat, Naomi protested, one protective hand on her belly. I expect civilization despite circumstances.
Vivian Accorte à 1982 Bordeaux, 12 $12 retail.
Crisis called for exceptional vintage. We face destruction unless we establish facts. Caleb loosened his tie. Facts like Franklin Tate's suspicious suicide hours after threatening you? Vivian poured wine with surgical precision. Facts like 17 calls between Loretta and Franklin before his death. Crystal glasses clinked as Gemma placed settings with mechanical efficiency. Loretta's composure visibly cracked. Those records are fabricated, she insisted. Detective Rivera is compromised. By whom? Vivian challenged. My influence doesn't extend to NYPD homicide. Doesn't it? Darius interjected. Like it didn't extend to Dad's accident investigation? Silence descended, heavy as the approaching storm. Charles's death was thoroughly investigated, Vivian stated flatly, by investigators on Carter Properties' payroll. Darius removed a thumb drive from his pocket. Dad's original medical examiner notes. Unaltered toxicology. Witness statements that vanished from official records. Vivian's gaze narrowed on the thumb drive. And you obtained these how? Loretta found them. Darius glanced at his newfound aunt. Or so she claimed.
Plaza Hotel, Manhattan.
3 days earlier. He's planning to betray you. The words hung in presidential suite air between Vivian Carter and her private investigator, Vincent Messina, ex-FBI, pathologically discreet, obscenely expensive. Evidence. Vivian demanded, Hermes scarf perfectly arranged despite red-eye from Atlanta. Vincent slid photographs across polished surfaces. Caleb Monroe meeting Franklin Tate at Four Seasons restaurant. Documented calendar entries. Bank transfers. Monroe's been meeting Tate for months, Vincent explained. Planning a removal after the Hamptons acquisition. Vivian examined evidence with scientific detachment. No visible reaction. Caleb believed pregnancy would force you to preserve Naomi's inheritance, Vincent continued, creating leverage for gradual control transfer. Vivian's laugh held genuine amusement. Gradual? Amateur approach. There's more. Vincent hesitated. Tate's working with someone inside your organization. Someone with access to Carter Properties documents. Vivian's amusement vanished. Name. Unknown. But communications suggest intimate knowledge of your movement patterns. Private conversations. Security protocols. Vivian processed implications while Manhattan traffic hummed 16 floors below. The betrayal she could handle, expected even. The unknown variable created risk. Find the insider, she ordered. And locate my son. Now, 3 days later, Vivian recalculated variables while Darius's security footage revelation detonated emotional shrapnel throughout her Southampton dining room. Stephanie Tate is your daughter? Naomi directed her question to Loretta, who had collapsed back into her chair. Half-truth, Vivian corrected, piecing together decades of manipulation. Stephanie is Loretta and Charles's daughter. But Franklin Tate claimed paternity. Darius stepped forward. That's impossible. Dad would never. Your father was many things, Vivian interrupted. Faithful wasn't among them. Loretta's composure, maintained through decades of calculated revenge, finally shattered completely. You knew. Rawness replaced professional polish. All this time, I suspected. Vivian refilled her wine with steady hand. Charles disappeared every third Thursday for years. Amateur pattern. I had him followed once, saw him with you and a young girl at Central Park. The $64 million deed lay forgotten on Brighton and Sloane's conference room table, while Southampton police established separate interview rooms throughout Vivian's estate. Detective Rivera, methodical, unimpressed by wealth, isolated each principal for questioning. Darius Carter sat alone in his mother's study, Charles's portrait looming from mahogany walls. The thumb drive containing evidence of Vivian's involvement in his father's death felt suddenly toxic in his pocket. Had Loretta manipulated him for 18 months? Created fiction from half-truths? Used his estrangement from Vivian to manufacture perfect vengeance weapon? The door opened. Vivian entered. Power suit exchanged for casual cashmere, battle armor adapted for changed battlefield. Detective Rivera is thorough, she observed, pouring 2 fingers of Charles's favorite scotch. Asked about your whereabouts when Franklin died. Darius accepted the offered glass. Told him I was flying from Los Angeles.
Verifiable alibi.
Convenient. Meaning? Vivian settled into Charles's leather chair, symbolic occupation that didn't escape Darius's notice. Meaning Loretta's plan required sacrificial lambs. Vivian sipped aged scotch. You served your purpose delivering the deed manipulation. Now expendable. Darius studied his mother. Woman he'd hated for 15 years based on Loretta's carefully constructed narrative. The thumb drive, he began, contains selective evidence, Vivian finished. Enough truth to seem credible. Enough fabrication to condemn me. How can I possibly know what's real anymore? Vivian's expression softened, nearly imperceptible, before professional mask returned. You can't. That's Loretta's genius. Reality and fiction interwoven so skillfully even she believes the narrative she's constructed. Outside, forensic teams combed Southampton grounds while storm clouds finally released torrential downpour. Nature's symbolism, heavy-handed but appropriate. Did you love him? Darius asked suddenly. The question caught Vivian off guard, rare vulnerability flashing across features. Your father was brilliant.
Charismatic.
Unfaithful. Clinical assessment gave way to something more honest.
But yes.
Until his last breath. Even knowing about Loretta? About Stephanie? Vivian laughed. Hollow, tired. Marriage contains multitudes, Darius. Something you might learn if you abandoned righteous isolation. The barb landed precisely. Darius flinched. Dad called me, he said quietly. Week before he died. Wanted to meet at the lake house. I know. Vivian's admission surprised him. He planned to confess everything. The affair. Stephanie. His decision to end it permanently. How do you know this? Vivian extracted her phone, scrolled to saved voicemail, pressed play. Charles Carter's voice, 20 years gone but instantly recognizable, filled the study. Vivian, I've made terrible mistakes. But I'm fixing everything. Ending it with Loretta, permanently. Telling Darius the truth. We'll rebuild together. You, me, our children. I love you. Always have. Timestamp. April 13th, 2003. Day before his death. Four Seasons, Manhattan. 2 months earlier. She destroyed your father. Franklin Tate swirled 50-year-old scotch, silver hair catching private dining room light. Like she destroyed mine. Caleb Monroe, Harvard Law, political pedigree, Carter family infiltrator, maintained skeptical distance despite tempting alliance. Vivian Carter is many things, Caleb replied, but she operates within legal boundaries. Technically. Franklin's laugh scraped like broken glass. Technically legal. Cold comfort for bankrupt competitors. Manhattan's skyline glittered beyond floor-to-ceiling windows, empire of steel and ambition surrounding them. Inside, 2 men contemplated toppling Atlanta's real estate queen. The Hamptons property, Franklin continued, sliding confidential documents across imported linen. Worth $64 million officially. Worth $200 million with government development contract. Caleb studied papers, Classified Department of Defense planning documents. Illegal to possess. Military research facility, Franklin explained. Classified. Adjacency rights worth fortune to contractor with advanced knowledge. How did you obtain these? Franklin's smile never reached cold eyes. My daughter Stephanie has connections. Caleb calculated risk-reward equations. Why me? You married into Carter control. Baby on the way solidifies inheritance claim. Perfect Trojan horse. Caleb bristled. My marriage isn't your business strategy. Isn't it? Franklin's challenge hung between them. Harvard's youngest ethics professor marries billionaire's daughter, whose mother destroyed his father? Coincidence seems unlikely. Present day. Southampton interrogation room. Mr. Monroe. Detective Rivera placed printed transcript before Caleb. This conversation was recorded at Four Seasons 2 months ago. Caleb maintained attorney's composure despite internal panic. Franklin Tate recorded private meetings illegally. Actually, Stephanie Tate recorded them. With Franklin unaware. Rivera's expression remained professionally neutral. Elaborate insurance policy. Los Angeles International. 18 months earlier. Darius Carter shouldered camera bag containing decade of award-winning photojournalism. His gallery closing notice burned a hole in his pocket while Atlanta beckoned with answers about his father's death. Darius Carter? Dark-suited driver appeared. Ms. Hughes sent me. Loretta Hughes, elegant, articulate, determined, had systematically dismantled 15 years of Darius's certainty about family history. Provided documentation. Witness statements. Medical examiner notes allegedly buried after Charles Carter's accident. Everything ready at hotel? Darius asked the driver. Yes, sir.
Et monsieur Garrange de tout de suite.
Luxury accommodation for a financially struggling photographer. First warning sign Darius ignored. Atlanta skyline emerged from morning mist. Carter Properties headquarters dominating the landscape. Vivian's empire built on foundation of Charles Carter's insurance payout. Or so Loretta claimed. Present day. Southampton Garden Path. Darius walked alongside Vivian, mother and son conferring while federal agents transformed family estate into investigation headquarters. Storm clouds cleared, leaving humidity and uncertainty. Loretta targeted you specifically, Vivian observed. Used your estrangement as weakness. Darius's bitter laugh acknowledged manipulation. Provided everything an estranged son wanted, evidence of mother's villainy, father's martyrdom, righteous revenge fantasy. Perfect revenge weapon. They reached property boundary, overlooking the Atlantic. Waves crashed against shoreline with mindless persistence, while Carter family drama reached catastrophic conclusion. Why didn't you tell me? Darius finally asked. About Dad's affair. About Stephanie. Vivian considered response carefully. Rare hesitation from a woman renowned for decisive action. You were 20. Idolized your father. Simple truth without embellishment. Learning Charles maintained a separate family with his alleged half-sister seemed unnecessarily cruel revelation. So, you let me believe you were a cold, ambitious monster who drove him away. Vivian's laugh held genuine amusement. I am a cold, ambitious monster, Darius. Just not a murderous one. Brighton and Sloan Real Estate Headquarters, Manhattan. 24 hours earlier. Everything prepared for tomorrow's closing. Loretta Hughes inspected the conference room while speaking to an unknown caller. Vivian suspects nothing. Southampton property, $64 million beachfront estate with hidden $200 million development contract potential, represented culmination of a 20-year revenge strategy. 2 decades planning perfect justice for Charles Carter's accident. Darius received manipulated documents? Female voice confirmed through secure connection. Everything. Loretta smiled at elaborate deception. Believes Vivian killed his father for insurance money to launch Carter Properties. And Caleb Monroe? Playing his role perfectly. Motivated by revenge for father's destroyed Senate career. Excellent. Satisfaction evident despite digital encryption. Franklin maintains plausible deniability while Vivian's empire collapses from within. Loretta inspected closing documents, ensuring Vivian Carter's name mysteriously absent from final deed. 20 years of patient plotting approaching perfect conclusion. Tomorrow, the female voice promised, Carter dynasty officially ends. Present day. Southampton Estate Security Center. Stephanie made 3 calls before escaping federal custody. Detective Rivera displayed cell records to assembled Carter family. 1 to offshore account manager. 1 to private airfield. 1 to this estate. Vivian studied security monitors displaying perimeter cameras covering 18-acre property. Darius analyzed escape routes while Naomi maintained protective distance from disgraced husband. Who received call here? Vivian demanded. Rivera's expression revealed nothing. Call connected to guest house phone. Where Mr. Monroe has been staying. All eyes turned to Caleb. Harvard arrogance replaced by transparent panic. I received no call, he insisted. Phone records indicate otherwise. Rivera remained professionally detached. 4-minute conversation approximately 3 hours ago. Naomi stepped away from her husband, physical manifestation of shattered trust. Vivian's tactical mind processed implications. Caleb isn't Stephanie's final target. He's her accomplice. Brighton and Sloan conference room. 24 hours earlier. Everything ready? Vivian confirmed with Howard Langston before entering the closing meeting that would cement Carter Properties' crowning achievement. All documents prepared according to specifications, Howard assured while adjusting Thomas' pink tie. Champagne chilling. Press release drafted. Vivian inspected Hampton's property deed, $64 million transaction representing 30 years climbing from Chicago poverty to Atlanta real estate royalty. Signature achievement in career defined by calculated risk and ruthless execution. Caleb will attempt something, she informed Howard. Unknown what precisely. Howard's surprise registered visibly. You expect disruption? I expect betrayal. Vivian's certainty reflected decades navigating business treachery. I've planned accordingly. Present day. Southampton Estate Security Center. Alarm klaxons blared throughout $18 million property as security monitors displayed hooded figure advancing methodically toward main house. Federal agents deployed tactically while Detective Rivera coordinated response with Carter family secured in reinforced panic room. Stephanie's movements suggest military training, Rivera observed. Professional approach. Vivian studied monitor displays with tactical assessment. Franklin paid for private security training after previous stalker incident. Stephanie completed advanced courses. Darius processed information. How would you know that? I make a point of understanding adversaries, Vivian replied without elaboration, particularly those with motivation for revenge. Naomi, Yale MBA mind focusing despite personal crisis, analyzed tactical situation. She wants confrontation, Naomi concluded. Could have attacked during confusion earlier. Instead waited for maximum security presence. Vivian nodded agreement. This isn't an assassination attempt. It's a public statement. Rivera's radio crackled with urgent update. Subject approaching east entrance. Armed with handgun. Requesting negotiator. Vivian moved toward panic room exit with decisive purpose. What are you doing? Darius blocked Mother's path. Finishing this. Vivian's determination permitted no argument. She wants confrontation with me specifically. Absolutely not, Rivera countermanded. Civilian engagement with armed suspect violates all protocols. Vivian Carter, who'd navigated hostile takeovers, bankruptcy threats, and systematic character assassination, merely smiled. Protocols won't resolve 20-year vendetta, detective. Clinical assessment. Only truth will. Before anyone could prevent her, Vivian entered security code unlocking panic room door. Mother. Naomi's protest registered too late. The door closed behind Vivian Carter as she moved purposefully toward confrontation decades in the making. Hello, darling. Loretta Hughes emerged from Southampton shadows, designer suit exchanged for tactical black, handgun matching her daughter's. Family reunion without me? Vivian instinctively positioned herself between Stephanie and the new threat. Mother's protective instinct, transcending biological connection. How did you escape federal custody? Direct question.
No preamble.
Loretta's laugh held genuine amusement. Money opens doors. Even cell doors. Inside the security center, Rivera coordinated tactical response while Darius and Naomi watched the three-way confrontation unfold on monitors. Loretta has a kill switch, Rivera reminded tactical team through radio. Any perception of threat triggers document release. Proceed with extreme caution. Outside, Loretta assessed the tableau with calculating precision. Touching scene, she observed. Vivian Carter protecting my daughter. Quite the performance. Not performance, Stephanie countered, weapon now lowered completely. She played voicemail. From father. Day before he died. Loretta's composure fractured momentarily. Fabricated evidence. Vivian's specialty. Like, accident report you showed me? Stephanie challenged. Medical examiner notes. Witness statements. Everything I provided was authentic. Selectively authentic, Vivian corrected. Carefully edited reality, supporting your revenge narrative. Southampton wind carried conversation across pristine grounds while tactical teams established perimeter. Inside, Darius studied confrontation with a photographer's analytical eye. Mother's deliberately keeping Loretta talking, he realized aloud, creating time for Stephanie to process revelations. Naomi nodded agreement. Psychological warfare. Vivian's specialty. Outside, Vivian maintained measured distance between armed opponents. You've manipulated everyone for 20 years, she told Loretta.
Darius.
Franklin. Stephanie. Creating elaborate fiction justifying Charles's death. You stole him. Loretta's composure shattered completely. Trapped him with pregnancy. Forced him into life he despised. Yet he chose that life. Vivian countered evenly. Repeatedly. Including day before his death. Loretta's weapon raised, professional grip despite emotional volatility. Liar, she hissed. Charles was leaving you. Coming to me and Stephanie permanently. Then explain his voicemail. Vivian extracted phone again. His explicit intention ending your relationship. Before Vivian could press play, Loretta lunged forward, weapon striking phone from hand, sending device skittering across terrace stones. No more manipulations. Raw emotion replaced decades of calculated revenge. Charles loved me. Would have chosen us if you hadn't interfered. Inside the security center, tactical teams awaited Rivera's deployment order. Wait, Darius countermanded. Mother strategy working. Loretta losing control while Stephanie witnessing breakdown. Outside, Vivian maintained preternatural calm despite armed woman inches away. What happened that night, Loretta? Gentle question disguising tactical probe. When Charles told you it was over? He never said that. Desperation replaced calculation. Never would have abandoned Stephanie. Yet his voicemail explicitly stated intention ending your relationship. Vivian pressed advantage. What happened when he told you directly? The question, precise psychological strike, collapsed remaining facade. Loretta's expression transformed through rage, grief, desperate denial. He couldn't leave, she whispered. Wouldn't abandon his real family. So you ensured he couldn't. Vivian completed thought. Arranged accident preserving fiction that Charles would have chosen you. He would have. Loretta's weapon pressed against Vivian's chest. If you hadn't poisoned him against us. Mother, Stephanie interjected, approaching carefully. Did you kill father? The question, simple, direct, devastating, hung between three women connected through Charles Carter's fractured legacy. Loretta's expression collapsed through complex emotional cascade, denial, rage, grief, final surrender. He was ending everything, she admitted, voice barely audible. 20 years together. Discarded. For her. For his children, Vivian corrected gently. For family, he created first. We were family too. Loretta's anguish erupted. Stephanie deserved her father. So you ensured nobody had him, Vivian concluded. Then constructed elaborate revenge fantasy blaming me. Federal detention facility, Manhattan. 3 hours later. Recording everything was your first mistake. Vivian Carter sat across from Loretta Hughes, Designer suit replaced by prison orange. Manicured perfection surrendered to institutional processing. Insurance policy. Loretta countered without energy.
Mutually assure de destruction.
Except your recordings include your own crimes. Vivian's observation delivered without triumph. Charles's death. Conspiracy with Franklin. Manipulation of evidence. Loretta's bitter laugh acknowledged strategic error. Hubris. Believed my version completely. Vivian studied the woman who'd orchestrated 2 decades of systematic character assassination. Complex emotions registered briefly: anger, pity, reluctant respect for elaborate revenge architecture. Why Brighton and Sloan? Professional curiosity rather than personal animus. Why build legitimate career in real estate? Needed access, Loretta explained simply. To Carter Properties transactions. To high-value clients. To you. 20 years maintaining cover identity while planning elaborate revenge. Vivian's tone reflected genuine appreciation for commitment. Dedication deserving better purpose. Loretta studied hands once manicured perfectly, now bearing institutional processing ink. Kill switch activated when I was arrested, she revealed without prompting. Recordings released to media outlets.
SEC. FBI.
Vivian nodded without surprise. Already contained. Howard's team handling strategic response.
Impossible.
Multiple redundant systems. Vivian Carter, who'd survived Chicago poverty, hostile takeovers, systematic character assassination, merely smiled. You recorded everything, she reminded Loretta, including conversations with technical experts explaining your systems. Pattern recognition identified vulnerabilities. Loretta processed implications while institutional clock ticked relentlessly forward. You've controlled narrative since beginning, she realized belatedly. Knew about recording systems. Prepared countermeasures. Business necessitates contingency planning, Vivian acknowledged, particularly against anticipated threats. You anticipated everything? Genuine curiosity rather than confrontation. Not everything, Vivian admitted with rare candor. Darius's manipulation blindsided me. Stephanie's existence remained unknown until recently. Loretta studied adversary who'd ultimately prevailed despite 20 years of elaborate undermining. What happens to Stephanie? Maternal concern finally emerging. Her choices entirely. Vivian revealed nothing further. Though Carter family remains open to relationship, should she desire one. Why? Legitimate confusion. After everything? Vivian's expression reflected complex emotional calculation. Because Charles would have wanted it, she answered simply. And despite everything, his wishes matter. Carter Properties headquarters, Atlanta. 3 days later. 17 external drives. Darius surveyed digital archives spread across Vivian's executive conference table. 20 years of recordings. Unimaginable privacy violations. Business intelligence, Vivian corrected, examining Loretta's digital legacy. Though ethically questionable methods. Darius laughed without humor. Ethically questionable perfectly describes Carter family operations. Vivian accepted observation without argument, rare acknowledgement of valid criticism. Carter siblings, united through crisis, strengthened through adversity, had returned to Atlanta headquarters while federal investigation continued building airtight case against Loretta Hughes. Stephanie Tate, granted immunity for cooperation, had provided critical testimony regarding her mother's decades-long revenge scheme. Currently residing in Vivian's Manhattan apartment while determining future relationship with newly discovered family members. Loretta recorded everything, Naomi observed, examining metadata from digital archives. Board meetings. Private conversations. Legal consultations. Professional paranoia, Vivian explained. Believed recordings provided leverage against potential threats. Instead created self-incriminating evidence, leading to her downfall. Darius completed thought. Vivian nodded appreciation for accurate assessment. Howard Langston entered with urgent security report. Perspiration staining Thomas pink collar despite Atlanta headquarters' precise climate control. Archives contain significant legal exposure, he warned. Recordings document potentially problematic Carter Properties operations. Selective context. Vivian dismissed concern. Business necessitates aggressive negotiation, occasionally crossing ethical boundaries. These cross legal boundaries, Howard countered, indicating specific files. Zoning board conversations. Permit expediting payments. Tax strategy discussions. Darius and Naomi exchanged concerned glances, while Vivian remained uncharacteristically thoughtful. Charles originally envisioned different company, she acknowledged after extended silence. Ethically constructed developments prioritizing community integration over profit maximization. Father's original business plan, Darius recalled from childhood. Before practical realities intruded. Before I prioritized empire over integrity, Vivian corrected with unprecedented candor. Building Carter Properties required compromises Charles would have rejected. The admission, Vivian acknowledging ethical failures, created momentary silence among assembled family members. What happens now? Naomi asked, protective hands covering pregnancy that would continue Carter legacy. Federal investigation reviewing these archives could destroy everything. Vivian's expression reflected strategic calculation interspersed with unfamiliar element, genuine contemplation of ethical considerations. Carter Properties requires evolution, she announced after measured consideration. Return to Charles's original vision. Ethical development. Community enhancement. Profit with purpose. Southampton Estate. 1 week later. I never expected this view. Stephanie Tate stood on the terrace, where confrontation had erupted days earlier. Atlantic waves crashed relentlessly against pristine shoreline while morning sun illuminated $18 million property with cinematic precision. Neither did I, Vivian acknowledged, maintaining measured distance from Charles's daughter with Loretta. Life rarely follows anticipated trajectory. Stephanie studied the woman she'd been programmed to hate since childhood. Complexity beneath public persona emerging through extended conversations spanning painful history, shared connections, uncertain future. Mother faces multiple federal charges, Stephanie observed, processing painful reality. Franklin's death. Evidence manipulation. 20 years of illegal surveillance. Significant legal exposure, Vivian confirmed without satisfaction, though Carter family resources remain available for appropriate defense counsel.
Stéphanie's surprise registered visibly.
You'd help women who systematically undermined you for decades? Who killed your husband? I'd help mother of Charles's daughter, Vivian corrected precisely. Despite everything. The distinction, compassion disguised as pragmatic family obligation, revealed complexity beneath Vivian Carter's carefully maintained facade. Why? Legitimate confusion. Vivian considered question carefully. Because destroying Loretta accomplishes nothing, she explained with unexpected vulnerability. 20 years pursuing vengeance consumed her completely. Continuing cycle serves no purpose. Forgiveness seems uncharacteristic, Stephanie observed skeptically. Pragmatism, Vivian corrected. Family represents ultimate legacy. Preserving connections honors Charles's memory more effectively than perpetuating destruction. Stephanie processed profound philosophical shift from woman renowned for ruthlessly destroying opponents. You've changed, she concluded. Evolved, Vivian amended. Necessity for survival. Silence settled between biological strangers connected through Charles Carter's fractured legacy. Complicated inheritance transcending DNA. Darius and Naomi invited me to Atlanta, Stephanie revealed cautiously, discussing potential role within Carter Properties. Vivian nodded without surprise. Next generation leadership making independent decisions. Appropriate progression. You approve? Genuine uncertainty. Charles would have wanted his children united, Vivian answered simply. Beyond past grievances. Carter Properties headquarters, Atlanta. 3 months later. Final vote passes unanimously. Naomi Monroe, Carter heiress, MBA strategist, expecting mother, closed board meeting that would redefine family empire. Darius Carter, recently appointed director of ethical development, reviewed revised corporate mission, community integration, transparent negotiations, profit with purpose. Stephanie Tate, formerly outsider, now integrated family member, sat opposite Naomi, both women finding tentative sisterhood through shared history and mutual respect. Vivian Carter observed from head of table, not relinquishing control entirely, but consciously transitioning toward advisory role. Charles would have appreciated this direction, she observed quietly. Darius nodded. Would have demanded it, actually. Naomi smiled faintly, protective hands covering pregnancy that symbolized Carter Legacy's future. Next generation deserves foundations stronger than deception and manipulation, she affirmed. Howard Langston entered with updated legal report. Federal investigation officially closed. Loretta Hughes sentenced to 12 years for conspiracy, evidence tampering, illegal surveillance. Stephanie provided full cooperation, Howard added, resulting in significant sentence reduction for her mother. Vivian absorbed report without visible reaction. Arrange appropriate trust for Stephanie's education initiatives, she instructed. Charles would have wanted that. Southampton Estate. Winter afternoon. Vivian Carter sat alone in Charles's study, fireplace crackling, Atlantic winds howling beyond glass walls. Decades of ruthless ambition weighed differently now. A letter lay before her, handwritten, yellowed from 2 decades hidden in safety deposit box Loretta never accessed. Vivian, if you're reading this, then something went wrong. I wanted you to know I never stopped loving you. Whatever mistakes I made them believing they were for the best. For our children. For the family we built. If I don't make it home, tell them the truth when the time is right. Tell them I never left them willingly. Signed, Charles. Vivian traced familiar handwriting, powerful hands that built empire, fragile heart that loved too many. For first time in decades, Vivian Carter cried. Not out of guilt, not out of victory, but for wasted years, fractured family, lessons learned too late. Carter Family Townhouse, Manhattan. 6 months later. Long dining table filled again, not with suspicion, but with conversation, rebuilding, cautious laughter. Naomi cradled infant son, Charles II, named for grandfather whose complicated legacy now honored through transparency rather than secrecy. Darius presented photo exhibit proposal, documenting 20-year saga through lens of truth and reconciliation. Stephanie offered community development initiative proposal for Atlanta's underserved neighborhoods. Vivian presided like matriarch reborn. Not iron-fisted tyrant, but strategic grandmother shaping legacy through influence rather than domination. Family dinners used to be battlegrounds, Naomi observed wryly. Wars produce survivors, Vivian countered gently. Survivors build legacies. Howard Langston raised glass of Bordeaux, less expensive vintage, deliberately chosen. To rebuilding. Glasses clinked. Southampton shore.
Dawn.
Vivian Carter walked alone along Atlantic surf, cashmere coat trailing, salt air carrying echoes of past decisions. Empire intact. Family scarred but healing. Enemies neutralized, but not obliterated, transformed. Charles Carter's voice echoed from preserved voicemail, carried always on secured device. We'll rebuild together. You, me, our children. She whispered into morning wind. We did, Charles. In the end, we did. Waves erased her footprints. Future waited. Carter legacy, born of ambition, marred by betrayal, salvaged through truth, moved forward. Not clean, not simple, but surviving.